historic event.
Well, first of all, us little ones who knew the names of Ben Gurion and Weitzman and all of these leaders in the Zionist movement, I mean, did it ever occur to us that we would be seeing them after all these years of dedication to them and getting talks about them and all of that? But here we were registered delegates in the Hadassah group, and we sat up close because Hadassah had
privileges, because you had all the membership. Even in those days, there were lots of membership.
So there we were, almost in the front rows, and we saw Weitzman and Ben Gurion and the other members of the Jewish Agency, and
this was 40? I don't remember.
This was in 39.
39.
August of 39.
Wow.
Now there were assembled delegates from all over the world, from Poland, from Romania, and from Bulgaria, and from England, and from South Africa, and members of the Jewish Agency from Palestine. Any country where there was Zionism, that country was represented with delegates. I just remember that there were some Germans who were there, but they sat tight-lipped and didn't open their mouths.
German Jews?
Yeah. Zionists. And there was a German guard who sat there to watch over them and to make sure that they weren't going to say anything about the country, about Germany. Now, there were lots of happenings at the Congress, but it was dominated, overwhelmingly dominated, by the discussion of immigration to Palestine. The delegates were divided among the Ja-Sagers.
The Ja-Sagers?
Yeah, those who said yes, and those who said, or the Nein-Sagers.
The Nein-Sagers.
And that dealt with the subject, should we continue to have illegal immigration? That was the position taken by Ben Gurion and mostly the Zionist, the labor Zionists, or the Nein-Sagers, represented by Chaim Weitzman and some people dedicated to him. Now, Chaim Weitzman said, look, I've established a good relationship with the government,
the
British government. Yeah. It's true we have a quota, and they're imposing the quota, limiting the number of people we can bring in. But, said he, it's very important that we maintain this good relationship with them now. They're our friends now, and it'll pay off in the end. And he urged very strongly that we cease bringing immigrants in illegally. Now, the delegates were vociferous in stating their opinion. Ben Gurion, I can just see him pounding on the table and saying, there is no such thing as illegal immigration. There is immigration, but there is no illegal immigration. And we will continue to take Jews, our brethren, out of the hellholes of Europe, wherever they are persecuted and wherever they are endangered, and we'll get ships from all over the world, and we'll get old ships, and we'll work on them and reconstitute them in any which way, and we'll bring Jews out of the hellholes of Europe, and we'll bring them to Palestine, quota or no quota. And this is what happened every day of during the sessions. Wee hours of the morning would find people in little groups still struggling with this, shouting, screaming at each other. I tell you, no city council meeting or any other convention we've ever attended could compare with that. Not only in the vociferousness of it, but because the guts of people.
The urgency of it. Yeah.
These were our people who were dying.
Right.
And it was a question of, do they live or don't they live, you know? Well, surrounding the Congress was also the knowledge that war was imminent, and there was no way to know how soon it would begin. And when we'd wake up in the morning, we wondered whether we'd hear something new about what the status was. And every day there were reports that it might happen any minute, it might happen any day. And sure enough, 2 days before the Congress was to end, they announced, I forgot to say, that Weitzman and Gurion were at such loggerheads in their in how they felt about this, that they weren't speaking to each other.
Oh.
And when they sat on the dais, believe it or not, they had their backs turned to each other. That's how wild this thing was. Well, came that 2 days before the Congress ended, and they were indeed, they were not only standing beside each other, but they were holding hands when they announced that the Congress would come to an end and everybody should plan to get home as soon as possible. And then he said, let's first say farewell to those who are in the most endangered situation. And they took turns speaking and was saying shalom, shalom to the Polish delegation and to the Eastern European groups that got up at that point, and they left. And I could just hear Weitzman and Gurion both saying, who knows if we'll ever meet again. And they went out, left, and everybody was in tears. Everybody was in tears. We pulled ourselves together then and had to go make our plans to leave.
Now, what do you mean 2 days before it ended? It ended. Is that what happened in August?
The Congress was supposed to last, I don't remember now, 10 days, but instead this was on the 8th day.
Yeah, I see.
So the Congress,
War was declared?
The war was imminent.
Oh, it was
They
so
really
imminent.
knew,
Yeah.
that's right.
Right.
It could happen any day.
Mhm.